let's introduce our guest. I want to welcome our guest. His name is Tommy Higham. He is the founder of a brand here locally in Utah called Lola Blankets, and Lola Blankets is a luxurious, most comfortable blanket on the market. And I'm saying that not because Tommy told me to say that. He did because
I told you to say that.
He did use the word luxurious when explaining his brand, but I have one of the blankets, and it is the most comfortable blanket. My wife has it, actually.
There you go.
I don't have it.
Okay.
But from time to time we share.
Where does the comfy blanket reside in the house?
On her side of the bed.
Do you hide it from the kids?
Yes, we don't let our kids have this one.
Really?
Well, I shouldn't say that. Like,
Do you
if
need
we're
another one?
Yeah, I think we need like 10 more, dude. But we will, like, my wife, you know, like if it's Sunday or something like that, and we're just like vegging out on the couch watching a show, we'll go in our basement, and my wife will bring that blanket down, and the kids will all snuggle her, and no one will snuggle me because of the blanket.
Because of the blanket.
Yeah.
Well, you need another
At
one.
least that's what you tell yourself. It's the blanket.
That is what I tell myself. Yes. That is what
The kids are all with mom because of the blanket.
Yeah.
Not because it's mom.
Dude, thanks for coming on. How are you?
No, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm good. I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're super excited to have you. Tommy and I found out we live very close to each
Yeah,
other.
we're basically neighbors.
Yeah, we're like neighbors. We're going to start running every morning together.
Yeah. I don't know about running.
Maybe hot yoga. Whatever you do in those neck of the woods.
Yeah.
You know?
They're opening up a cold plunge sauna studio down there.
In Alpine?
So I don't know, somewhere.
Really?
Mitch Matthews and
Oh, okay.
Football
someone
player?
else. Yeah.
Yeah. They're popping up everywhere.
Somewhere in Utah Valley.
Yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
big area.
It's kind of all
it's gotta
the
be
same,
within
right?
it's gotta be within like 5 minutes to 10 minutes for me to be like, I'll
For
do that.
sure. For
You know?
sure.
Not
Yeah.
driving any further. What's your like
Morning.
what's your morning routine? Like what's your like go to?
It's actually been on my 2024 goals is to like rework the morning to make it better, but it's pretty normal. I just have a normal morning. I've been wanting to go to the gym earlier.
Okay.
Because I've been going to the gym at basically 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Because that's when Vasa is like dead.
Yeah.
Because it's always just a zoo.
Sure.
But my goal is to like do it in the morning now.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice. So when are you
I was going to CrossFit for a while actually
Okay.
in Pleasant Grove.
How did you like CrossFit?
It's really hard.
Did you do CrossFit?
Did you meet your proselyting assignment for CrossFit?
To get somebody?
Yeah.
No, they never asked me. Maybe I didn't go enough.
Is that what they tell you to do?
Because everyone talks about it.
Really?
serious?
I did not know that. Oh, wow.
The first rule of CrossFit is everyone talks about CrossFit,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Yeah, CrossFit is kind of
But to be fair, if you go, I went for a while.
They were really nice.
It's great. Like CrossFit really is great if you just want to go and get your butt kicked and get in shape. Like there's
I've
nothing
always
better.
wanted to do it.
It made me sick. Like it was that hard.
Really? I think I'd be great at it, but it's too far. There's nowhere close enough to me. Like I said, I'm
Yeah.
not driving anywhere further than 10 minutes for my workout.
Pleasant Grove was like 15.
Yeah. And we have we have a gym in our house. So it's
Right.
That's where they're opening up that sauna, Pleasant Grove.
So
Okay.
PG.
Yeah. But yeah, no, CrossFit's great. So if you go to CrossFit, it's great, but people can burn out of it.
For sure. It's really hard. That's
'Cause
why
it's really hard.
I went like pretty regularly and then I just like kind of stopped.
Well, I feel like you have to kind of make it your personality if you CrossFit.
For sure. But I will
And
say
that's
that
part
all
of
the
the
people
burnout.
that go every day, you can tell they go. They
Oh,
do
yeah,
every
sure.
day. Yeah.
They're shredded.
So it must work.
You know who's a
Well,
huge
my brother goes every day and he's a CrossFit trainer. So
And can you tell he's a CrossFit trainer?
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
you know who's a huge CrossFitter is Cody Whittick.
That makes
Kinship.
sense.
And when we were together,
A lot
in
of
Vegas, he just
ex-athletes
was-
will get into it.
Yeah.
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 So how is it going so far?
CrossFit?
No,
Your
your 2024
2024 goals.
resolutions.
We're getting into it. Like the
Nice.
first week I was like out of town, I was in Miami, and then just kind of getting back into Utah life.
Yeah.
So
It's okay. I set some pretty lofty goals and then I was sick for like a week and a half and then
Just ruined it all.
it really.
I feel like the new year starts like
How do I
2 weeks after.
get up
Yeah, yeah.
early.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like usually February where you're like, am I actually going to do this or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just
That's terrible.
slowly wade into these waters of goals. Maybe
Well-
I'll make it.
Let's hear. Okay, do we want to get into this debate quickly? We were talking about tumblers. We're talking about the rise and fall really quickly of, I shouldn't even say the fall, the rise of Stanley, right? So everyone knows what a Stanley mug is by now.
Yeah, the rise of Stanley.
And I made the comment, and it was opinion based. Anecdotally, there's no real data that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I made the opinion, I just want to be clear about that, that I
opined.
I made the opinion that I think Stanley is on the decline.
Yep.
And I think because when you see tweens start to get things like that for Christmas, that's generally when everyone starts to say, okay, now everyone has this. I need to move on to the next thing. That's why I made that statement. So I think they're on the, I don't know if they're on the decline now, but they are in 2024 going to be, I think.
Possibly.
Possibly. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
I would agree.
Okay.
I think they'll still do fine.
Still do fine.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're at 750 million,
Yeah.
you know, like fine is all relative.
I think they'll keep growing even, but maybe not as fast.
Okay. I don't think they do
think they'll
750
decline,
next
though.
year.
Well, see this in the debate, what I was pointing out is that the drinkware tumbler market has grown.
And
so
I
it's
agree.
not just that there's 3 companies and they're competing with each other. They are competing, but a tumbler is now a commodity when it used to be, I don't know, like a one-off purchase. Like nobody had a tumbler unless, I don't know, if you're like
You were a certain type of person.
hardcore coffee drinker
yeah.
that you made it at home and you wanted it hot to work.
Sure.
But now everyone has a tumbler.
Yes.
Yeah, they've educated everyone. They've convinced everyone that everyone needs
Yes.
that. But I will say,
Because
something
Yeti
came
was
to
the
mind.
first to the game, right?
I saw a TikTok actually just barely that like this guy got his wife a Yeti tumbler, and she was so mad and like basically like threw it down because she wanted a Stanley. So that just goes to the point that Stanley's created a very strong brand that like it's like almost
Presumably amongst the female demographic.
yeah, like she's like I wanted a Stanley. Like, this Yeti's not good
Or the
enough.
Knicks. My little brother
Yeah.
loves a Stanley. Obsessed about it. He was actually the pioneer of the Stanleys.
Why?
He was first.
He got it from that one company that I was just talking to you guys about. I need to go look at that
I've always
Instagram
had
account.
a Yeti. I got a Yeti back, like 2017 is when I started using Yetis.
Yeah.
Straws just gross me out. Like I like the
same way.
Yeti that
That's actually true. They're hard to clean.
I don't ever use a straw, even at
Yeah.
even at a restaurant. I always sip from the cup.
yeah.
And I actually don't have a tumbler. I do not own one.
You live in Alpine.
I know. I don't own one. I have I drink Olipop's, and so I have like I do have a Yeti, those things that you put it in. It's almost like a koozie, but keeps it colder. Keeps it cold.
Yeah.
So I do have a Yeti, one of those.
But what we were saying is, because you had said, well, you think Yeti had been declining
I
because
said
of the
yes.
emergence of Stanley. But
Yes.
Yeti, in their last report, is still up. Drinkware is up 6% year over year for the last 3 quarters. Each quarter, they're up.
Drinkware
Is
is
Yeti
up.
cheaper than Stanley?
No.
The same.
Well, I can't tell you the same. But
Stanleys are what, like 40-ish?
Yetis are
I think
not
they're
cheap.
like $50.
I bet they're probably roughly similar.
Yeah.
I would 42.
I'd wager they're within a.
So
5,
drinkware. So
10
what
bucks.
what let's just clear what is
But I do
drink-
think what's happening is because of the emerging market, because tumblers used to be like outdoors coffee only.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of turned into every person just wants a cold drink and they don't want their drink to not be cold.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of turned into like cold drinks too. So now we're turning into like this female male demographic almost like, hey, like the manly brand might be Yeti.
Right.
Right. And like the
I would
more
say Stanley
urban,
is definitely like if a guy got a Stanley, they would be like, oh, it's like a girly thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Or-
Because
or-
I posted a reel once that got like 1 million views, and I had a Stanley in my hand, and most of the hate comments were like saying
From
that I was a
guys?
guy using a
Interesting.
Stanley cup.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is nuts.
I mean, because I still see
it
views-
is nuts because like there's nothing
It's a
inherently
cup.
girly about
Yeah.
even the label.
Right. If it's very
logo.
yeah, it's very manly like
Yeah, and
text.
even exactly.
But yeah, so I think what's happening is you're just
Interesting, that's
having
funny.
like
yeah.
now you have suburban moms or like maybe like urban suburban feel. You have like more of the outdoor manly. You have, and that's kind of what these brands are all gravitating towards. But the market's emerging. So now you have teenage girls, and now they're all using tumblers, right?
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of teenage boys with tumblers yet, but
Yeah.
I'll wager they probably start using them.
I think Alawala, is that how you say it? Alawala?
I don't know.
Awala?
Don't know.
Abby, help me out here. Alawala?
What is it?
They're like an emerging tumbler water
okay.
bottle market that's creating some really cool stuff. That I think they're a Utah brand too.
Really? They're creating cool stuff.
I think they're going to start to up the ante.
But I think this is a good segue into Lola because we're talking about a market that kind of already existed.
Yeah.
But through education, the market has started to expand. But it's all about an
sure.
item that's existed forever.
Yeah.
There's nothing unique or special about tumblers. Like I'd wager they haven't even gotten better since the 90s. Like I don't know. Like I'm sure the tumbler technology has been there for a long time.
Sure.
But now all of a sudden it's like the must-have commodity item that everyone wants.
Yeah.
So with blankets,
Yeah.
Tommy,
Yeah.
blankets have been around since the dawn of time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's hear about Lola and why.
So I wanna hear
So why
about
did you
this.
take that on? That's a great
Yeah. So a
segue.
lot of people don't know like how, because like when I tell people that I sell blankets, that sounds so like, they're like why? So I've always been into entrepreneurship. Like I've always done that. I had like a bed frame company before Lola. I tried to start like an ice cream business as well. It didn't work.
Creamworks is you?
No, I wish. But no, so Lola, so my mom, she passed away from breast cancer like 3 years ago. And she had breast cancer for a while. Like she had it for like 7 years. And during that whole time, she had this one blanket that was similar to the ones that we sell now that she would take to treatment. And like our whole family, because there's a lot of downtime with being sick.
Sure.
And we'd spend time with her when she was not feeling well. And we all grew to like love this one blanket. And my mom's nickname is Lola, like just kind of shows her sense of humor. So after
The song or?
I don't really know how it happened, honestly. It was just like a funny nickname.
His mom was a showgirl?
No, Lola's not.
There's a song.
There's
I know
a
that
song
song
by the Kinks called Lola, like that famous song Lola. Lola, lo, right?
I don't know.
I don't know that one. I know. Her name was Lola. She was.
Yeah, I know that one.
That's
Yeah.
what I know.
But yeah,
Sorry,
that was just her
proceed.
nickname.
Okay.
And so after she had passed away, we didn't know this, but she had that exact blanket replicated and made for me and like all of my siblings and my dad. And so she had hid them. She was like very thoughtful in like the way that she was going to like leave this life. Like she like hand wrote a cookbook and like she, took a lot of time even when she was very sick to like make sure that things were in place. And
Got it.
so we didn't know like this, but we found the blankets hidden in her room. And with each blanket, there was a handwritten note to us from her.
So cool.
And so the blanket was like a representation that she said to keep this with you, like, and like I'll be here with you when I no longer can anymore.
Yeah.
So it was like a beautiful story and it was like really impactful for me. And the product, like the blanket's amazing. And I was like, what a great way to like honor my mom's legacy than to like start a business selling this story and these blankets, and putting her name on it. So that's what I did.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful origin story.
And we don't talk about it very much because I just feel like it's hard. It's hard. Each box when you buy a Lola blanket has like the story in it on a card, but like as far as like from the brand perspective, it's hard to talk about it a lot on social media just because it's kind of heavy. But
Is it hard to talk about this is just me out of personal curiosity. Is it hard to talk about more so because that's still so fresh? I mean, you said 7 years ago she passed. Three.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's even closer than 7, right?
Yeah.
Or is it hard because you feel like you don't want to gain traction telling that story?
Yeah, it's not that it's hard to talk. It is hard to talk about, but it gets easier as time goes on. But I just don't want the brand to be like that's like always been getting brought up. Like it's like
that's what you're selling.
Yeah, we're not selling that. We're actually selling a really great product. And by the way, it's like this is where it came from. If you want to know.
What a delicate. That's hard because I actually think that story is beautiful.
Yeah.
Because like that's such a cool thing for your mom to do because it's like now you have this blanket and as cheesy as it sounds, every time I wrap myself in it, it's like that's my mom hugging me or however you want to take that. And so I kind of get what you're saying is like you never want to look like you're feeling like you're selling
a sad
based
story.
off of a tragedy.
For sure. Yeah.
But that tragedy is so cool from what your mom did and then to double down on you saying, well, that meant so much to me. What if I can build a product like that can
For sure.
do the same for other people? Maybe not have the same meaning behind it.
And we also donate to Huntsman Cancer
Cool.
Institute at the same office you receive treatment. Like every month we bring actual blankets to the women who are receiving treatment there. And then we donate money to an organization in South Florida called the Morgan and Friends. She's a professional golfer.
Sure. Yeah.
And we just actually were there like this last week.
I saw that on your stories, yeah.
And we donate money, and then we also like donate blankets to them as well. So, we have like a mission our mission is breast cancer.
Yeah.
And then stemming from the story of my mom.
How has it been? I want to get into the saturated market of blankets and how you're succeeding. But before we get into that, how has it been like having a mission tied to you being an entrepreneur? Because not a lot of people get that. Yeah. Like that. Like there's like this alternate, more important meaning behind it.
It's interesting because I've always only wanted to be an entrepreneur and start businesses since day one. Like I've never wanted to have like a job.
Is that a family trait or is that a you?
It's just a me thing. Like
Interesting.
I used to my family would I remember pick raspberries at my grandparents' house, and like I was like 8, and I would literally steal the raspberries from them and then go sell them on the side of the street. Like I've just always been like trying to make a buck. But
I always wish I had a story like that, and I know you kind of do, but I was never like that. Ever.
Well, I'd sell my mom's lunches.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like she'd make you a cold lunch at school.
Yeah, because I went to Olympus.
Oh, you'd sell the lunch.
Yeah, I went to Olympus, and if you're from Salt Lake, Olympus is for a lot of rich kids at Olympus. And so most of my friends, they'd get money for lunch, but my mom would make us cold lunches. So it's funny, like the grass is always greener.
Right, they want that one.
And they want the lunch, so I would always sell my lunches.
Interesting.
What would you eat?
Well, I'd get like $10, so I'd go to McDonald's and Little Caesars.
So you do this in high school?
Yeah.
When you could drive? Nice. I thought you were talking like in elementary school or something like that with lunch money.
No, it started in junior high. Yeah,
Got it.
But
cool. Sorry.
Then I have money left over.
Bigger mission. We were just talking about having that.
So then it's like all kind of clicked. Like, my first couple businesses didn't like work out. The bed one was pretty successful. I ended up selling it to somebody, and it just all kind of worked out to where it's like, okay, now I really believe that like the success we've had has been tied to the why behind it, because there was like when things were not exactly easy, there was like, well, even with like the details of the brand, I was like, I never compromised from the very beginning, because I'm like, wow, like my mom's name's attached to this, like, and she was the best, so this has to be the best. And that's cool. Never compromised with like any detail in the very beginning. And I think that that's been a lot of the success.
Well,
love that.
I like that story a lot, because what you're first of all, like, we're really sorry for your loss. Losing a mom's never easy.
Yeah.
But the story's beautiful, that you're able to honor her memory and also honor what you kind of were born to do, right? Like you said, you've kind of always been wanting to do that, which is also a way of honoring her, right? Because she brought you into this world, and now you're able to do what you feel like you've always been kind of born to do.
Yeah.
But it's a good example from a business perspective of how everyone says like start with your why, or start with your customer's why, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And what you're demonstrating is that sometimes the why is this internal, intrinsical force, not something that you always have to be projecting out. Mm-hmm. And even though that's part of your story, it's not that you're hiding it. It's that, hey, this isn't something like, I'm not trying to make money off of a tragedy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm trying to honor the legacy of my mom. So you share that story when it's appropriate, but you're not trying to like advertise it all the time. For sure.
Yeah.
And so you're playing that balance, but I think it's a good show. Like it shows that, hey, that intrinsical force as an entrepreneur, that's something that's within. You don't always have to share it with everybody, but it can help you move your business forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Like you said, so you went through some hard times. I'm sure you went through like, oh shoot, am I going to make it to the next quarter? Or hey, is this product going to work out or whatever? Yeah. But that internal why of why you were building it helped you kind of get over those obstacles.
For sure. And like, I think in my other business, like this that I've tried to start, it's like, it was so easy to give up on things because there wasn't a why that like kept it like going. But this time there was the why that like was like, okay, well, I got to figure that out.
Any advice you have? Because I love this. Any advice you have for anybody who's thinking about starting a business or has a business but doesn't have a why attached to it on like thoughts on how to find something like that, even if they don't necessarily like yours was.
Yeah.
I don't want to say obvious, but it was almost like she teed that up for you, and then your entrepreneurial spirit was like blankets.
Yeah.
You know, any advice you have for anybody on discovering that?
For discovering I think that more than anything, I don't think you have to have like that kind of a why to be successful in a business. Like you can just find a gap in a market or a great idea or product and you can be successful. But I think that the advice on that is like just never compromising again, like on the detail, always being 100% committed to the idea, because really it always just comes down to like being 100% committed to one thing and then not giving up on it.
Sure.
And you'll always end up in the right spot, I feel like, no matter really what it is.
Totally. Awesome.
And sometimes it's just at bats, right?
Yeah.
You had a bunch of failures before.
Yeah.
And some successes too.
And then the window
like,
opened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think at bats is super underrated. You know, I think everybody, I've been one of those people included. Like you want to, like your first business you do, first idea. And when it doesn't work, you're like,
what comes to mind is like, do you know Vital Proteins?
Yeah.
So I've become friends with like the founder of Vital Proteins, and
I just consumed Vital Proteins this morning.
Did you? Okay.
Collagen.
Well, it's a very successful business, like $1 billion brand.
Yeah.
And he told me that this is his 9th business that he started.
Yeah.
And he's like, most of them failed.
Yeah.
But like one of them really worked. So it's at bats, like you said.
Look at that.
At bats are key.
At bats.
Yeah.
So the blanket market. So you have this great story, this great motivator to start a business in the blanket, but everyone has a blanket.
Yeah.
Right. So how did you start? Like, did you already conceptualize this right from the beginning of like, hey, this is a special blanket, but like everyone's got blankets. So what was your mindset at the beginning of like, how do I create this and also break through?
Firstly, I thought when I said the words Lola blanket, when I first thought of it, when I said that out loud, that like kind of like was some weird confirmation that I need to do it because it sounded right and good, which that sounds crazy, but
sure,
that's the truth. And then secondly, I always, even before my mom gave us those blankets, I saw like the market, and because I've always was so confused by it. I'm like, first of all, how are there all these billboards on I-15 talking about blankets?
Yeah.
And so like there's this confusion there. I was like, how is this like even a market? Because I'm like, it's just blankets.
Right.
But then I realized it's like literally everyone can use one.
Yeah.
Like male, female, young, old, every single person is the customer. And then I thought there was a real opportunity for...
Yeah, who doesn't like a great blanket?
Yeah, exactly. And they're not just any blankets, by the way. They're like they're a different level.
It's legitimately... I know that IBS, like sometimes, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say IBS about most people we've had on the podcast. I've used their product and I'm not.
No, you genuinely use a lot of products.
I do. I try to consume the products that, anyways.
I am someone who doesn't.
This is legitimately.
I mean, they're $300 blankets.
There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. You want to know what I thought was going to be nuts?
What?
I thought they were going to make me super sweaty.
Yeah.
And because like they look,
they're a little heavy.
They're heavy. They're thick. They're like
soft.
You don't want to say furry.
Yeah, I don't. We don't use the word furry. Yeah. But they're very plush.
Plush.
Yeah,
plush.
But dude, like it just gets you where you want it to be warm.
Yeah.
Not like oh my gosh, I'm like dripping because I've had some weighted blankets.
Yeah.
I'm like I can never do this again.
Oh, so it's a weighted.
It's not technically weighted.
Yeah.
We just came out with weighted, which haven't been as successful, by the way, as our original product. But they're our original is like lightly weighted. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not like a truly weighted blanket, just enough to
make you feel like
you're
being hugged.
You're being hugged. Okay.
Yeah. So again, I saw a very clear opportunity with marketing with this product, and I know that that's my expertise. So that's how it started.
So what were the first steps then? Like, okay.
Yeah.
You got your samples in.
It's actually crazy. Yeah.
Then what did you do?
I was living in LA at the time, actually, when I had started the business. And I actually started by driving around all over LA and like these textile manufacturing places where I found like they would buy the fabric and then resell it. So there's a bunch of people in LA that would do that. So that's how we originally started, was I was buying just pick different fabrics that I liked, and then we'd actually manufacture them and like get them sewn in a basement in LA.
Cool.
And that was nuts. Like it was just a lot of work. It was really expensive. Did that for a while, and then I finally made like my first order with our manufacturer overseas. And the first order wasn't very many blankets, but it arrived to my apartment and it filled up my entire apartment from ceiling to the floor. I couldn't open my refrigerator or my stove. I had a single pathway to my bed, and that's it. And my whole balcony was full of.
Did you have
blankets.
pre-orders already, or were you just like,
no,
I got to sell these now?
Yeah, no pre-orders. But
wow,
we ended up selling them all in like a
month.
But
it's so big, probably because the product is big, so it ships big too, right?
Yeah, the product is big. It was crazy though. Like,
how'd you come up with the money for your first minimum order quantity?
So I basically just used all the money I had.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, you had said you'd sold a business.
Yeah.
Previously. Cool.
Do you mind saying how much the first order was?
No, it wasn't that much at all. I think it was like $18,000.
Well, that's a lot when you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
When you're just hanging out and young.
It was like everything. So.
That's awesome.
Okay, I got all these blankets.
Yeah, it was kind of scary.
What made you? Okay, so let's dive into this one. $18,000. All the money I have.
I had spent another like 15 probably on like other things.
Samples, developing, branding, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 30 plus grand deep, and you don't have any pre-orders. What indications did you have that led you to believe, yeah, I'm on to something?
I just
I'm
never
gonna sell this and not.
I don't know. I actually never really questioned if we'd sell them
Okay.
because I know the product's so good.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I have friends in LA. Like I was using my friends as models, and like that wasn't very expensive. And there was like spaces in LA that were very different than like Utah. And so I just never really questioned if we'd sell them. I just didn't know how fast we would actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you maybe got some anecdotal feedback from other people saying,
but part of this belief was that you were going to make the best.
Product. Yeah. I was never going to compromise on anything. Like the branding was going to be better than any competitor we know. The product is better than any competitor we know. So it's like, if you do all that, it's like, you get it into somebody's hands, that people are going to buy it. So,
what's interesting about that is I think a lot of marketers and entrepreneurs try to find a way, like a shortcut, right? Hey, I'm going to start this. I'm going to exploit maybe this arbitrage opportunity in some kind of industry or market, and then that's how I'm going to make my money. But it's interesting hearing about Tommy's experience, because you're saying, no, I don't care. I'm just going to make the best product, period.
Yeah.
And so I know it's going to work because it's going to be the best product.
Well, what's kind of cool about it, it's like you go to a department store or like a home and decor store, and you've got couch section, and you've got bed section, and then you got bedding section, right? And what's great about this is you don't have to create the bedding aisle. It already exists. So what you're doing here is you're saying, listen, like, because when I asked you this question, like, you did this without knowing if you were going to sell it, and you're like, well, I just knew I was going to sell it because the aisle exists already.
Sure. Exactly.
Okay. I'm just going to, of the 1,000 products that are on this aisle or more, I'm going to make the best one possible.
Exactly.
And so if these are selling, mine will sell.
Exactly. Guys, I saw our competitors, and like they're selling a lot of product, and it's like, well, if I do it better, we'll sell. Yeah.
I really like that.
Okay, so what's your first step to selling your apartment full of blankets?
Yeah, so...
Did you have the website built? Like, where were you?
I worked on it for 9 months before I started selling anything. Okay. The website was, built. I just did that with like a friend from home. And Shopify, yeah. I did like the photography. I actually did the photography myself in the beginning.
Okay.
Nice.
And I just like paid like some friends like $50 or something to model, and it looked great. It looked amazing. Yeah. And then I think we just launched without any like influencers or anything, just started selling it, mostly family and friends buying in the very beginning.
Sure. And
then just I have like some friends who do influencing, and they were posting for free, and it just kind of like went off and like random people were buying. And then we had like this, it was crazy. This random influencer bought from Ohio, and she DM'd was like, hey, like I want to work with you guys. And she ended up selling like so many blankets. So it was like this little miracle in the very beginning.
What year is this?
This was 2021.
Okay.
Can you say how many?
How many she sold?
Yeah.
She sold like totals from this, like from to this day.
Oh, just from that one thing that helped you take off a little bit.
Okay. So that first Christmas I think she sold like $50,000 in blankets.
That's wild.
Yeah. And
That's
then
huge.
to this day, she's probably sold like $500,000 in blankets.
And did you pay her at that time?
No, we didn't pay her.
So she just bought it.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing about the
cool.
internet is like, it's just so,
Yeah.
you can reach so many people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like a little miracle in the beginning. And then just like,
And also going back to if you just build the best product, people will talk about it.
For sure.
Oh yeah, you get the flywheel effect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then it translates as well when people share, especially on social media. Like if you can tell, like when someone's talking about something on Instagram, if you can tell if they actually believe what they're saying. And I think if you've created a product where they truly do use it every day and they do love it, it just is going to translate to the followers.
Well, yeah, they see it, you know, let's just take this girl, for example, right? Like, not only do they see that blanket when she's talking about it, but they also probably, like, her followers who follow her enough in stories, like, she's probably got a story of her cooking in the kitchen and her kids using it. Or, you know, so you see it more than just the times that, oh, hey, you got to try this Lola blanket out, right?
The crazy thing is like the product with these influencers, like the product's always in their stories because it's just in their house, in their bedroom. Like,
well, it's very aesthetic pleasing.
Always there.
There's some blankets. I'm just like taking over as you need to hire me.
Spokesperson.
There are some blankets that are meant to be under the covers, right? Like it's just like so for example, my blanket.
Yeah.
I use because I get hot, I use like a knitted blanket that has holes in it.
Okay.
So it's a little breathable. You're probably disgusted with this because I bought it from IKEA for like $25.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah. So that's why I need, you know. Anyways, I use that and that stays under my blanket. My wife uses the Lola and that stays on the top corner of the blanket because it's very aesthetically pleasing as well as it is comfortable.
We tried to choose colors and designs that are very on trend and meant to be out and not hidden.
So when did you launch? Was it 2020 or 2021?
2021.
Okay. That's crazy. So was that one of your first big influencers that made like an actual difference for you guys?
Yeah, for sure. But that was very quick. But then I think the success of moving forward was like, I have a lot of friends who do influencing and I just started using my friends. And then we started working with a lot of people and I just started sending product out to lots of influencers. And now we work with like a lot of really big name people.
So is that what your like part of your bread and butter and why you're succeeding is influencers?
Yeah.
How has working with influencers changed? Because the heyday was 2017 of influencers. I mean, 2016, 2017, 2018.
It's really interesting. Yeah.
2020, 2021, it was still good because you're like coattails of COVID.
Yeah.
In buying habits were just different.
Yeah.
And now it's very different.
It is always changing. Yeah,
and I just want to point out, we're not blaming influencers for this.
Yeah.
Kind of like what people are calling maybe a decline in quote performance.
Yeah.
It's that these platforms are trying to monetize.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's pay to play models. And so, you know, there's an algorithmic change that incentivizes them to do what is called like branded content. So it's attached to a brand. So you boost it. And
yeah, because every time you pay an influencer, an ad platform doesn't get money.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah, we do both. But like what we've been doing, finding like a lot of success with is product collaborations, which we've been doing a lot of lately, where we have the influencer create a product with us. And then again, it just like comes across so much more natural for them promoting because they feel this attachment to it. They designed it, their names on it. And then they share way more with their following. Yeah. And it's fun for us too, because we get to create new stuff all the time. Yeah. So we've been doing that a lot. And then, but working with them it's a really hard thing. Like, cause everyone has different rules. They want to be paid differently. Some work on affiliate basis. Some want $30,000 for an Instagram story. Sure, and you just have to work out deals. And I actually was doing all that forever until we actually just barely hired someone who we're really excited about from a very big company that you probably all know. But we're so excited. She's starting. I'll tell you after. But she's starting the next week, so we're really excited about having her. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
How did you determine you're in charge of the brand?
Yeah.
So explain to our listeners how you would decide if there was a good match between an influencer and your brand and the collaborations. Like what kind of parameters do you set for that?
So I would always look at like firstly who they are and who like figure out who they're talking to. Because like, for example, like we had a lady, do you watch Selling Sunset? Have you seen Selling Sunset?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay. No. On Netflix. Yeah. So she has like, we sent a blanket early on to this lady who has 2 million followers that she built from being on a reality show.
Yeah.
She posts a lot about the product, sells almost nothing.
Yeah.
And then we have this lady in Ohio who talks about makeup and she's probably 40, talks about makeup. She has 100,000 followers, posts once, sells a lot of product.
Yep.
And it's just like, there's this, you have to understand who's following these people and like what they're interested in. If they actually, like, you don't trust the star from Netflix because you don't feel like you know them.
Sure.
But the lady that you feel like could be your friend
totally
has 100,000 followers. You know her, you trust her.
Well, not only that, but the people following Selling Sunset?
Selling Sunset, yeah.
Girl, you could have people like, I would just guess, and I apologize if I'm assuming, I would guess that when you look into your demographic market, I'm sure the primary person buying is female.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So, but I'm sure you get a lot of men who follow that woman.
For sure.
Just because that's a hit show and what they do is kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
And so you're getting people who are just interested in the show that may not be interested in.
Age really matters too.
Sure.
If they're too young, they don't have any money.
Yeah, they don't have to just.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're buying a $300 blanket, you're in a little bit more of a disposable income.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So figuring out first and foremost who's following them. Then I look at like what their engagement's like mostly just comments, like if they're getting a lot of comments, and then if they're on brand for us. And if they are, then we'll work out a deal. And usually we've gotten to the point where we're usually never wrong about how well they do now.
Dude. And that's huge in 2024.
Yeah.
Like really big. Mark and I work with brands all the time, and most people can't.
I will say this. I need to add this. I'm really good friends with the owner of Wally Cases. I don't know if you know what Wally Cases is. Mm-hmm. And she's helped us a lot.
Cool.
Because they do a lot of influencer marketing, and she's kind of been like, we work with so-and-so, they do amazing. So we've had some leads too.
Mark and I, we used to work for a brand. We used to be a part of a brand here locally in Utah called Fawn Design, and influencer marketing was really big for us. And one of the we kind of coined this term, and you hit something that I really want to touch on, which was when we were discovering influencers. Because we, one time we found this woman and we paid her. I remember we paid her like $50.
Yeah.
And to post 2 stories or something.
It was 500.
We paid her 500.
Yeah, but then she sold.
Oh, well, she sold like
6 figures.
She sold like
there you go.
$100,000 worth of blankets for us, not blankets, diaper bags
something
at the time. Yeah. But anyways, we started to hit these wins, and then we recognized that we got to stop looking at just followers, and we have to start looking at the people
for sure
who follow.
Yeah.
And we called it intent-based influencer marketing.
Why they're following.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what is the follower's intent?
Right. Yeah.
And that is by
sure.
far so much more critical than who they are.
Yeah.
Because this woman with 2 million followers, she probably has tons of people in her that fit your demographic, but their intent to follow her is so different.
Right. Exactly.
But the percentage of those people might be smaller than the percentage of a smaller $100,000 follower influencer.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And then when you're talking about followers that actually see posts when you post it, your numbers go down.
The other thing I've found too, which is really interesting, is the amount of time the influencer spends talking at the camera with their face.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like if you saw them in the grocery store, you know them because they talk so much to you all the time that you feel like you know them. So we've worked with some influencers that are very mysterious, and they're never talking, and they're showing just aesthetic things all the time. They have a following. They don't really sell anything. But like if they're literally talking at your face all day long every day, and then they say, "Hey, I have this blanket," so you're buying the product.
That's a golden nugget, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
Like that's a super big golden nugget. If you're listening to that, you should write that down.
This podcast episode is brought to you by Bestie. Bestie is the first ever AI-powered post-purchase survey platform. Bestie is revolutionizing the way you understand your customers. Are you uncertain about what motivates your customers to choose your products? Unsure how customers are discovering your brand or which marketing channels are most effective in driving sales to your website? Or do you know how long it takes your customers to make a purchase decision? Look no further because Bestie is the ultimate solution for you. With Bestie's cutting-edge AI feature, you can effortlessly create comprehensive surveys in just a matter of seconds without the need for any of your valuable time. And that is not all. Bestie's automated insights will regularly provide you with actionable information week over week, giving you the tools to drive your business forward. Now, with the holiday season in full swing, there is no better time to start gathering valuable customer data. Bestie is offering an exclusive 30% discount for Q4 alongside a 14-day free trial. Do not miss out on this opportunity to supercharge your business and truly get to know your customers. As e-commerce owners and agency owners ourselves, we use Bestie every single day to help us make better decisions on how we communicate, acquire, and grow our customers. Visit Bestie AI or check out apps.shopify.com/bestie today to secure your Q4 pricing. Don't wait. Start making data-driven decisions with Bestie today.
Well, if you see the influencers who are still performing really well, even as algorithms have changed, like they're still getting a following, they usually are a little bit more personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And it's leaning more and more towards that, right?
Because that 2016 aesthetic that we talked about, where you just take pretty pictures,
Yeah.
that trend is
sure.
fading,
Yeah.
and has been fading for 7 years now, right? And the trend of personal, relatable, it's still aspirational to some extent, but not to the point. It's like the people want to feel like they're a part of your life.
And I'm sure that's like a checkbox for you too, right? Like where it's like, okay, you're finding the people who are more personal in front of the camera, but also have that aesthetic, because that's part of your brand. Yeah. And like you've said, it's like we don't compromise.
We work really. Do you know Chris Loves Julia?
Yes, I know the name.
They're one of some of our best influencers, and they're the perfect combination. They're like in the home space.
Yeah.
They are everything as far as design and like quality, and then they're also very like relatable and nice, and you like hearing them talk. Yeah. And so they're like, I would say, are like the perfect situation for our brand.
So when you're working, that's awesome. When you're working with influencers, how does it generally talk to us about a process? Like, you know, is it, hey, I'm reaching out, can I send you product? Mm-hmm. And I just want to know what you think, or is it like, hey, we want to work with you. What are your fees?
Honestly, I took the approach from the very beginning of just saying, I just want you to have this.
Yeah.
And I'm sending you this.
Yeah.
And I don't ask anything from you. And it really worked. Like because like I was trying to do influencing myself before as well, like hustling on Instagram. And I remember the feeling when a brand would send me something and they were putting all these really strict like they're like, you need to post like 6 stories and I just felt so turned off because I'm like, you're not paying me anything.
Sure.
And like, but you're just sending me product, and it gave me a bad feeling about the brand. Yeah. But like if a brand would send me something and they would just like, oh, we just like you, we want you to have it. I'd literally post first thing. I'd be like, and then I'd always be posting for free because I'm like, you just made me feel good. Yeah. And so that's the approach I took from the beginning as well. Is like, I'm just like, we really like you and we just want you to have these blankets. Yeah. And it really, honestly, it worked. And then we'd as they'd post and say thank you with a story or whatever, we'd say, oh, like, we'd love to you to post about this big sale coming up. How can we make this work? Got it. And then we'd work out a deal.
And then it sounds like every time you find somebody who succeeds for you, you're probably doubling down.
Oh yeah, and then we doubled down.
Saying, okay, well, let's put this person on do you put people on retainers ever?
What do you mean?
Like meaning, let's take this one girl who you said has sold probably $500,000 worth of stuff. Do you eventually reach out to her and say, hey, can we pay you $2,000 a month?
Oh, right.
To get something like this, you know, like, or is it more just maybe she's affiliate? I don't know.
We've shifted to affiliate.
Okay. Cool.
Just because these people who are selling a lot of product, they're good at what they do. Yeah. They're making a lot more than a base rate. So, I mean, and then I always explain too, we actually have some people that I pay they don't sell anything.
Sure.
But we pay them because I just want them to be associated with us from a branding perspective, because I think that their value is not in sales, but in association.
Sure.
And I think that a lot of brands don't think about that.
Yeah.
They think just like, oh, like I need a return.
Yeah.
When in reality, like I love being able to repost somebody who I just think is really cool. They're not selling anything, but they're associated with our brand. And I think there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah.
From indirect sales.
Yeah. Like I spent $1 here. Where did I make it back?
For sure. Yeah.
How do you, I'm trying to think of the question because I think most people don't do that.
Yeah.
Most people, when they're working with ads or influencers, they're not thinking about the bigger picture and the long tail of a branding.
Yeah.
So how are you justifying that spend? Are you...
Well, I actually want to jump in on that question.
Please.
Because
I'm having a hard time figuring out if that's even the right question to ask.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, some brands will say, well, that's cool, but I still need to make a profit.
Yeah.
So how do I make a profit? Like I'm trying to grow, I'm spending money on ads and influencers. Like I have to have a return. But I think what the difference is what Tommy built from the beginning was a brand and the best product.
Yeah.
So you already had some organic traction to be able to afford some misses at some point.
For sure.
Like when you did start paying and when you did start saying, hey, we can take a bigger approach now.
Yeah.
I'm sure you weren't taking the biggest approach from day one.
Yeah.
Because you were focused on, I want to make sure my brand is solid and that I'm associated in the mind of people with high quality, high value product or the best product. And then after I get that reach, then we can afford those misses, right?
Sure.
But yeah, like what you're saying.
Potential misses.
Yeah. Well, because you're going to miss, right? Like you'd have to go through learning.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But some brands are like, I'm just not in this position to do that. And it's like, well, if you're not, then maybe take a step back and really analyze your brand.
Yeah.
Because is your brand resonating, which is, it's kind of like hoodoo, voodoo, vibey stuff, but there's real actionable, measurable ways to measure your brand. And so I'm curious because you're a branding expert. You felt like you spent a lot of time making sure that this brand was dialed in before you launched. What and how do you build your brand to make sure that it's resonating with your audience?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think that I took maybe like an opposite approach to that, and I just built the brand of what would resonate with me. And like, it just, I mean, I don't know. I have people that come into my like house or like where I live, and they're like, oh, like this is like your brand. Like this is like Lola branded.
Yeah.
And like really everything is just how I branded it for myself, which I don't know. It just happens to work. It happens to work. But like, even like we had an event, like influencer event in Orem, and just like people who came like, wow, this is so on brand. But I really didn't feel like I built a brand with the customer in mind. I built the brand how I wanted the brand to be, but also in a way to fill a gap in the market. Like I said from the beginning, where there wasn't an aesthetically like pleasing, like chic, cool brand in the space. But mostly, again, it was just mostly how I would want it to be.
Well, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I think what a lot of us forget is like, as unique and as original all of us are, we also aren't at the same time.
Yeah.
Meaning there are thousands and millions of people just like you.
I feel like what I like, most people would like, but they don't know how to do it.
They may not be like you, but aspire
yeah.
to be like you and how you dress
or have
and
the same
how
taste,
you live. And exactly, yeah. So what I really like about this, and I don't have a question, I'm just unraveling this a little bit more. Maybe a question will come from this. But what I like about this, what you're saying is, hey, we pay. At the very beginning, you said, I am going to make the best blanket on earth. I'm going to make the most comfortable, chic, luxurious. Maybe you don't want to use the word chic.
No, we like it.
Okay, cool. Blanket. And so in order for me to do that, one, I have to successfully do it with the product.
Yeah.
Right? So the product has to, when they get it, they have to say yes.
Yeah.
This exceeded my expectations or fit my expectations. Exactly. But two, part of building that brand is having people who, like you said, may not sell for you directly, who post. But when you post about it, they see that like, oh my gosh, that person that fits the type of person who I want to be like. I like him or her. And so I think that's probably how you can justify that.
part of the branding.
Because it's like you're paying for
A model.
a shoot down in La
Yeah,
Jolla that's
for sure.
very, aesthetically pleasing, or you're paying for a shoot at a beautiful cabin in Montana, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of how you justify that.
Yeah.
I would
For
assume.
sure. We actually just did a shoot in Iceland, and it was a very expensive trip and shoot, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think it all comes back.
It nailed the brand.
Yeah.
I did see that.
It was sick.
Yeah. That seemed like a lovely, that's
Did you
awesome.
go do some Wim Hof over there?
What's that?
Isn't he in Iceland or something?
Who?
Wim Hof.
I'd never heard that before in my life.
I will say, if you
What's
have
Wim
not
Hof?
been to
He's
Iceland,
that breathing guy. He's the Iceman.
The
The guy who does the breathing, like
I don't
sits
know.
in. He can. Oh, you guys don't know who Wim Hof is?
maybe keep explaining it.
Okay, well, look, Wim Hof is this guy. I think he lost his wife to
Don't ask us. We don't know Wim
to
Hof yet.
depression,
Okay.
and he wanted to fix like what's wrong with people, and so he went on this journey to discover like breathing and breathing exercises, and he's to the point where he can kill a virus by breathing. There's an experiment. They shoot him with a virus, inject him, and he raises his temperature to the point to kill it. He can survive. He set the record for the longest time in an ice bath. He was in an ice bath for like 5 hours.
I'm sure
or
we've seen him
something.
on TikTok, probably.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
If I saw
Yeah, he's got a beard. He's old.
Because all that is so trendy right now.
Yeah,
He looks like a gnome
Breathing,
in
ice
the
baths.
winter forest.
He's not the guy who puts tape over his mouth, right? And
Yeah, I get that.
Nose
all the
breathers.
time. Yeah.
I see that.
No, you'd know.
I've heard Iceland's incredible.
Amazing. Yeah, you need to go.
Like one of the most beautiful places
Yeah.
ever.
It is.
Okay, I had a question though. So you're saying your target demographic are usually women,
Yeah.
30 plus.
Yeah.
With higher incomes.
Yeah, I mean, because they're gonna have household incomes generally,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
At that point, or higher incomes by themselves. So, have you figured out, because women tend to just be the purchaser of a household,
Yeah, for sure.
Especially for household things.
especially for household things. So it's not
Yeah.
that the product is for her or for a man or not, right? So it's like you have to sell the woman of the house. If you sell the woman of the house, then you get the whole household.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question is, have you been able to discover that kind of chain effect of, hey, if I can sell this woman, if I can sell Becky down the street,
Yeah.
who has 3 kids or 2 kids
She'll
and
buy
a
4
husband,
more.
she's going to get 1 for her.
Oh, no, they do.
And then they get 5.
Yep, for sure. Or would they buy many? Like
Do you
people
see
buy a lot.
usually it's 1 and then 5, or how does that
Yeah,
play out?
We have people get their first one. They'll get it in the mail. They'll use it, and they'll literally make a purchase within the next few days. So like our returning customer rate is really high, and then people in general are buying like 2 to 6.
Which is the testament for a brand and a product, right?
Yeah.
If that happens, then you can spend crazy amounts of money
'cause
on
we
the
need to
branding
gain-
stuff.
Yeah, if we can gain a new customer for X amount of dollars, but you know what I mean, then they're our customer for, and then again, Christmas comes around. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah. And then they're probably talking to other people about
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I would love to know do you guys happen to use any sort of post-purchase survey at the very end of your,
We do a survey. Yeah, it's just through Shopify, I think.
okay. We'll have to talk at the end of this, but
Yeah.
I'm curious if I bet how did you hear about us?
Oh,
Family
yeah.
or friend?
True.
If you are
actually,
running
wait,
it.
no, we don't ask that.
We'll talk about
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but I'm sure it would be wildly high if you've got a massive
Yeah.
returning customer rate, which
Well,
is
and then
sweet.
and then going back to that original, like, well, how do you justify doing this? Well, that's why.
Exactly.
Right? Like if you build, and just business 101, a good brand is a good product experience.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think a lot of people maybe get a little too creative with what a good brand actually is and isn't. And there's all these things you can do to enhance the brand experience. But first and foremost,
Yeah,
your
The
brand
product doesn't
experience is your
land,
product
yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
for sure.
And
At
so,
least, yeah.
you can do a lot if you're returning a customer within 30 to 60 days.
Yeah,
Because essentially now you can afford to pay almost as much as you want to acquire a customer.
yeah,
I'm not saying this is what you do, but we're just talking hypotheticals here.
Yeah.
If you had a $300 item, now you can say, if somebody's going to come back and buy 3 more, well,
Yeah.
I can acquire a customer for
I could
$300.
potentially lose money on this first order.
Yeah.
And we've really learned a lot, like with our Facebook and like Instagram ads, as we've scaled our ad spend. It's just been really eye-opening, like how like scaling it has worked. just because it's like we were always pretty conservative with like the spend on like those type of ads, because it's just really hard to like understand it all. But then as we like leveled up, I guess you'd say, with like how much money we're spending on Facebook and Instagram, it actually has made a lot of sense to like spend way more money.
Nice.
So it's
Love
been
that.
cool. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people get caught up in direct ROI or direct ROAS.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's what you're
sometimes
insinuating,
look less
right?
impressive. Yeah.
Totally.
But then when you actually really look into it, when you say, like we say we acquired this customer for kind of a high amount of money, if you look at from where we got them from.
Yeah.
But then she literally has bought 10 blankets, and then those 10 blankets went into these homes, and then these
friends
people
are
are
now-
buying
And they were
them.
referred.
Yeah. And then they're buying them because they were a gift. And then it's like this like spider web effect.
MLM.
Yeah. Kind of.
Besides,
Not really.
besides the downline, right? Besides them getting benefited.
Yeah. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
That's a good point.
What platforms are you? So you said you're testing in Meta. I'm sure you are in Google as well.
Yeah.
You messing around anything on TikTok?
Yeah.
How's that working for you
We
guys?
just started that actually.
Cool.
It's crazy because we don't really use TikTok, but we have a few influencers on TikTok who kill it for us. And so that's one of our 2024 things, is we're really going to focus on TikTok.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any other big platforms you're advertising on, or are those the main ones?
We're Pinterest.
Okay.
And then Reddit.
I've heard really good things about Reddit.
Yeah.
If you do it right.
Yeah. We heard that we get searched a lot on Reddit, so we're going to start doing Reddit too. But yeah.
Awesome.
What kind of ads are working best for you?
So it's been, it's a lot of like sort of like ads that I wouldn't approve of, like visually actually do great. And so it's hard for me, because I approve everything. It's hard for me to like sometimes let that test something that like represents us that's not like super aesthetic. But a lot of like UGC type of stuff does really well. Sure. We're really doing a lot with that right now. Like we're working with all these different UGC creators across the country. We'll send them product. We'll like really go through scripts with them and try to make them as like, just, a lot of the zoom in, like different eye-catching type of things. So UGC for sure. And then a lot of like, I think you had mentioned it, but we call it like white label ads, where our influencers will make a video and then we'll actually run it through their account. So it'll be like a sponsored ad for them.
Yeah, it's
they're
like
really effective.
Influencer name sponsored by
Yeah.
Lola
Are you
Blankets.
seeing a comeback with statics?
What do you mean?
Like just pictures?
Well, static.
imagery?
Oh,
back
yeah.
in the day,
We have
static
some, yeah.
imagery didn't do well. They did great,
Yeah.
and then they didn't do good. It was like all video.
Yeah, like after
And-
2020, 2021.
Recently, we've seen a huge uptick in static performance.
Yeah.
We have some ads that do really well that are static, and then if we have a sale, we've learned that like just making the sale as clear as possible in just basically one static image has been really effective too. Make it
Nice.
very clear.
Yeah, directness in advertising is underrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people,
agree.
again, I think marketers always overthink it. Like sometimes marketers start marketing to marketers.
Especially, and I mean this with the most respect in the world, especially people like yourself who are branding experts, right?
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned like, hey, there's some ads that aren't, I wouldn't create them.
Yeah.
Or it's hard for you to approve.
It's hard for you to
even.
prove, but I'm letting it happen because I'm seeing the performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get over that? Because a lot of brands have a hard time.
Letting go of like the vibe of it all.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see the numbers, so we tested some stuff and it works.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's super important to understand. Like, I don't compromise here.
But there are some things. No, I mean, I
Sure.
do like if it's bad, like I'm not letting it go out there. If there are certain things where the product doesn't look good, I'm not.
Yeah.
There are some things, but if it's not exactly perfect, I've learned to like let it go a little bit, just because of like, I also have learned in running business is like it's better to do than get super caught up in some of the things. Like again, there are some details you never compromise on, but you've got to always be moving.
Totally.
So
Well, movement is momentum.
yeah.
And I think when you get caught up in over analyzing, you get caught up in the trap of not doing.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you're not going to move
Then
your
it
business
slows-
forward.
yeah, it
Because
slows
a
everything
failure
down.
will move your business forward, right? Like, because if you fail, well, then you can learn from that failure and you
Yeah.
can adjust
Not
your
do that
advertising.
anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
But not doing anything won't do anything for your business at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And I love what you said about approving that stuff. I know it's hard for someone who wants things to be perfect and wants everything to look a certain way aesthetically. But again, brands can have different sides of a personality. It's, you know, it's kind of like when you meet somebody and maybe it's a interesting person, they're kind of eccentric in weird ways, and then you go to their house and you're like, oh, like those hidden millionaires, you know, like, oh, whoa.
I would expect that, yeah.
I never would have. I thought you lived in the woods and you're like you're like a millionaire or something, right?
Yeah.
You can kind of think of that as like a pleasant surprise with brands too, right? Like it's not that you're like, oh, I don't think that this guy's dirt poor when you meet someone like that, or they're just kind of like unassuming.
Yeah.
But they're interesting and they're maybe telling stories or whatever, and then you get to know them even more, and it's even more interesting like the more you go.
Yeah.
Brand experiences can be the same way. Like even though it's not perfectly aesthetic at the beginning, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And people don't care about you unless you're interesting. Right?
Yeah.
You have to catch their eye, you have to catch their attention. And the most aesthetic thing right now doesn't always catch the attention right off the bat.
Sure. May not be a big hook.
But when you get to the house, the website, and it's all aesthetic, it's all nice, right? It all matches. It's like, oh, this is comfortable. Now I can walk in. This is really surprising and a pleasant experience.
Yeah.
But
I totally agree.
they're never going to get to the house unless they're interested for some reason.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you can hook them and stop them, and just a couple more questions, and then we can kind of finish up here. One question I have for you, Tommy, is what brands are inspiring you right now?
I always
Stanley.
No.
Yeah, and Yeti.
And yet,
I know this sounds so basic but anything that the Kardashians put out is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like they're branding experts. Like who's ever running those brands is killing it.
Yeah.
And so I always really look like Skims, for example, or like Kendall's brand, like 818, the tequila brand. Like they just kill it, and it's just always they're always a little bit. I feel like they're really good at forecasting the trend in what is going on with branding.
Sure.
So I think that they're really good.
and maybe even dictating what it is.
For sure.
Totally. Yeah, they start it. And
In Utah, though, I feel like Utah could level up with their branding. Everyone. Actually.
Ooh, everyone's getting called out.
I don't disagree with that.
I feel like they could. I feel like they don't take it as serious.
Tommy's hot takes.
Yeah. I feel like they don't take it as serious as they could.
Yeah.
Because there's this like sort of like group think I feel like in Utah where everyone loves supporting Utah brands, but like I feel like there's a lot of opportunity in branding, in Utah branding, like culture.
So that will lead me into a good next question. My next question, which is, what are some of the biggest mistakes brands are making when building a brand?
Okay, I think we kind of naturally touched on it. I think that they're too focused on the return with all aspects of branding, and that there's some value to be like for example, like our shoot in Iceland was really expensive. I could have done the shoot in a studio. Actually, we did. That's the story. I did a shoot in a studio in Provo, and I got the pictures back, and I'm just like, this is so boring.
Yeah. Like
I literally didn't use any. There's a $5,000 loss. Like didn't use any of the photos. And I was like, this is just boring. And so I was like, got our model photographer, flew to Iceland, very, huge trip. We shot all day for like 5 days, and it was just epic.
Yeah.
It was just so different. But like I don't feel like a lot of brands would be like, oh, like we can't pay for that. That doesn't make any sense. Let's just use these photos. We already paid for them. But we took the loss, and it's just like, well, we have to stay true to our brand. And that is our brand, is going above and beyond. And so I think that's definitely a mistake. They're more focused on, like we said, like the return rather than sticking true to your like core values of a brand. Yeah. And it's more on like the dollar. Yeah. Which I just always believe it comes back. Yeah. Like again, if you do a really good job at anything you're doing, whether it's branding or product, it's gonna come back to you. Yeah. I love, we say this from time to time, but like you can't really put a ROI on brand. Yeah. Right. You can put an ROI on your sales and your marketing ad spend, but it's.
Well, if you're losing money, you can. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. If you're not winning, but that's where the right product experience comes into play. Because you saying all this stuff, like a trip to Iceland works for you because your product maps out. Yeah. But it would not work for you if somebody only bought once and never bought again. Yeah. And never told their friends about it. Yeah, for sure. Because it'd be like, yes, you can acquire people because of what you've done with the brand, and you've made this so beautiful and so aesthetically pleasing and so catchy. And but if somebody's getting the product and it's shedding and it's ripping and it's not as comfortable, then
they're ripping you on Reddit.
Yeah, I mean, you can't win that way. So,
but
this has been awesome.
man, it's really solid. It's really solid.
Congrats.
Advice.
Your business sounds amazing, and it sounds
thank
like
you.
you've done,
It's fun.
and I love that it's Utah based, just because
I do
we're
hope we go back
Utah-based.
to the Mad Men advertising creativity world, though.
What is that?
Like the golden age of advertising. Like everyone, like you said in Utah, like what
Yeah.
you're calling out Utah brands and how they all kind of blend together.
Yeah.
The same thing with tech, right? Like all the tech logos are the same
Yeah,
colors.
Yeah.
It's all font based,
Yeah.
I mean, everyone looks the same. Where if you think about the golden age of advertising, like that's where McDonald's comes from, right? Like the arches.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It's where Coca-Cola, like the most classic logo of all time, like nobody does anything that stands out.
Yeah.
And I hope, and because I agree with you from like a zoomed out perspective, start doing things that are different. Like you don't have to have the same logo, the same font, everything, right? Like see what happens as you experience, I don't know, some creativity in your brand.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, zig when everyone's zagging.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, think about it. Like all the best logos don't look like any of the logos that come out anymore. Because everyone just kind of does the same thing over and over and over again. Like where's all the cursive fonts, Lola?
There you go. Yeah.
Bestie, we kind of got a little cursive going.
Got a little cursive going.
The font, our logo, by the way, is an actual miracle. It was the very first thing I did, and I hired some guy in Fiverr in Bulgaria to make it,
Nice.
and it was his first run. I'm like, wow, I'm like,
That's
perfect.
it.
Yeah, that's
Done.
it. We're done. Yeah,
Dude, I love that.
it was so lucky.
Where most people would do block,
Yeah.
caps, LOLA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe rip off like Coach
Laura
font.
font or something. Yeah. Well, dude, thank you so much. We
thanks
we
for having
appreciate
me.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Where can people find you? Where can people find Lola?
So yes, we sell lolablankets.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Lola Blankets, and then my Instagram is Tomcat with 3 T's at the end.
Tomcat.
Tomcat.
Yeah.
Tomcat.
Tomcat with 1 T was taken, so I had to have 3 T's. Yeah.
Makes sense. All right. Well, thank you so much, Tommy. We appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Unstoppable Marketer podcast. Please go rate and subscribe the podcast, whether it's good or bad. We want to hear from you because we always want to make this podcast better. If you want to get in touch with me or give me any direct feedback, please go follow me and get in touch with me. I am at the Trevor Crump on both Instagram and TikTok. Thank you, and we will see you next week.